Then we'll be ready to roll.
Kevin's going to be okay today.
All right.
You ready to
We're
roll?
rolling. Roll it.
Roll it.
Welcome back to the Volley House Podcast, episode 37. We are here at Kolka Studios. So if you need a firehouse built or some renovations, give them a call. We also got Ryan Mackey on the sticks. Be sure to give him a follow at Max Visuals. It's MACKS_visuals. You're on your own for spelling visuals. Download the... Go to volleyhousepodcast.com to ask us questions or send in stories or videos you'd like us to review. And also, we just added some Halloween merch. So use code Halloween for 10% off.
10% on all merch.
On all merch, that's right.
All merch. Not just Halloween.
Also, give us a follow on all social media platforms at Volley House Podcast. And we will get into iCommand Board. Every video we see from a career department incident shows an incident command board on scene. Yet, in many NIOSH LODD reports, a recurring finding is the lack of proper incident command. As a chief in the volunteer fire service, your responsibility is to ensure the safety of everyone operating at every incident. Gone are the days of managing this in your head or on a simple whiteboard. The owner of iCommand Board, a volunteer fire chief, took this challenge head on by developing a professional tool tailored for volunteer fire officers. These command boards are designed with size, affordability, and most importantly, accountability at the forefront. Packed with critical information and checklists, they're built to help you stay organized and focused at every event. Visit iCommandBoard.com today and take the next step in ensuring the safety and success of your department. In today's episode...
Did I do well with that?
Yes, you did.
Oh, okay.
We got a special guest on today. I'm excited for this one. Welcome.
Special, like, interesting or special, like, helmet window licker?
Yeah, both.
Shh, you can't say that anymore.
Yeah.
No, you can say that. You can't say the R word.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm being flashy. You're about to drop. First microphone drop?
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
Might catch.
Okay. All right, let's get it. Yeah, so is this what makes me special? The
Yes.
microphone?
Yeah, the microphone drop.
There we go.
All right, nice
Sorry
and tight.
Everything I mess with, I end up breaking. So I apologize ahead of time for destroying your studio.
I'm just glad you cleaned all that stuff out of your mustache and stuff before you came on.
I had to pick it out earlier.
Well, Mike Monaco, thank you for coming out here and
Thank you
coming
for
on the
inviting
show.
me.
Absolutely. If you want to just give a little background on yourself without knocking the microphone down.
I'm trying it.
You're
It is. It's a flaccid microphone. Okay. I wanted to be able to see your pretty face.
No, you don't.
You beat me to it, Kev.
You've seen my face for too long. It's no good.
Many years together. Love your face. All right. Well, I guess start. I mean, believe it or not, where I want to say Lieutenant, where Kevin is from, is kind of where I started. Inadvertently, I ended up dating a girl. I was in high school at the time in Setauket, whose family was involved with the fire department. She was part of the drill team. So I kind of got exposed to the volleys through the drill team. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. I was underage at the time, so I ended up joining the juniors out in Mount Sinai. And then from there, became a full member when I was 18. Did a bunch of stuff there, was involved with the tactical rescue team, the Northern Brookhaven Tactical Rescue Team at the time. Got involved with their marine rescue as well as the dive team. I had a couple years on, and my absolute mentor, who is an extraordinarily polarizing character, but I'm going to mention him anyway, Tony Tricarico, for those of you who may know him.
Tony T.
Tony T. Came up to me one day and he goes, hey, listen, I know you're going to school and college and all this stuff. He goes, I think this is something you might enjoy. And he handed me the test for New York City. He goes, do yourself a favor, kid. He goes, take the test. You never know where it's going to lead. You can always walk away from it, but you can't ever reopen the door if you don't take the test. So I was like, all right, cool, Trick. I'll take it. And I ended up taking it. And then I ended up coming on shortly after 9/11. And I was started off in Engine 233 in Brooklyn for a couple of years. And then I was kind of voluntold to go to Haz Mat 1. Went to Haz Mat 1 after 3 or 4 years on the job. came back to the G-pop and then went back to hazmat after that.
G-pop.
So I've kind of been floating around a couple different places. And
Yeah,
then-
for sure.
It just wasn't working out in 233 for you. That's why.
Yeah, you know what it was? There was. I mean, not that there were issues. There were some issues. There was a salted pork issue, which I won't get into. But no, I saw very quickly how the hazmat portion was going to open doors and allow me to do things later on. That there was a space to learn and grow beyond being an engine person,
Right.
and I wanted to go down that route. So
And we needed a lot of help after 9/11. It was, we were pretty much decimated. The SOC world in general, rescue squads, hazmat.
yeah, I mean, I was the bottom of the barrel. They were literally scraping the bottom of the barrel. Because
and
now if
we
you
were
try
looking for people with any type of experience, to try to come to these units,
Yep.
and that's where that worked out really well for a lot of people.
Yeah, and if you try to get into SOC nowadays, you need at least 10 years of experience just to interview, just to submit to try to get in. And I had 3 or 4 years on, and I just kind of was basically told you're going over there for a little bit.
Huh. Interesting. Well, we do this segment I mentioned before, suspended or not.
Okay.
I think you might like this one.
I gotta put my glasses
that we
on,
have.
hold on.
Yeah, and you could go to
Need my glasses.
frontlineoptics.com. Use code VHP15 for
Sorry,
15% off.
None for you.
Yeah.
No glasses for me?
No, we should have done that for guests. Get glasses.
We have to get a couple more pairs.
Suspended or not. One night we were cleaning up after a department picnic, and as we were putting away the food trays, we noticed there were a few unused sternos. One of the members asked if we wanted to play sterno soccer. We obliged and began playing soccer with lit sternos in the parking lot. Luckily, nobody got burned. Suspended or not?
Did you? I need context.
This is
Were you caught?
No.
That's usually where I go with it.
It's right. I mean, like, no. I'm gonna say from a firefighter's point of view, I'm gonna say not suspended. Nobody got hurt. Nobody even knew it happened. It was at night. It wasn't in the firehouse. I mean, you at least can give the guys credit that it didn't happen in the firehouse. Even if
true.
it happened in the firehouse, as long as it was on the apparatus floor, I'd be okay with it.
Also, don't try this at home. Don't try this in your firehouse.
Don't get that gel all over you, man. That stuff,
Yeah.
like, you'll be on fire
Yes.
all over the place.
Yeah.
But, I mean, listen, you got enough drinks in you. You could do this with that on your hand for a little while. You've got a good 2 or 3. Oh.
Please don't try this at home.
That was like years ago.
But yes.
I remember
But yes.
my brother one time came home. This is when we were younger, and his hands were burnt. And he comes home crying or whatever, and my mom puts out a bowl of ice. He's got his hands in it, and my dad's like, "What happened?" He's like, "We had the GoPeds at the time." He's like, I filled up my GoPed, and we lit a fire or whatever, and my hands went on fire. So he calls my neighbor over. He's a Port Authority cop, and he asks him. My brother's like, "Yeah," he told him the same story, and he goes, "How long after you put gas in the GoPed did you guys go light a fire in the woods?" And he's like, "Oh, probably like a half hour or whatever." And he's like, the gasoline would have evaporated off of your hands by then. The real story was him and his friends were fucking around in the woods, and he told his friends that if he put gasoline on his hands and lit them on fire, his hands wouldn't burn. The gasoline
God.
would. Yeah.
There's some
Now we have Google.
potential
We have Google
truth
now.
to that.
We have Google now, though.
Well, I used to light sternos, the catering stuff and the
Yep.
Christmas party stuff like that. The tricks with the kids is I would dip my finger in the sterno,
write it out.
light it on fire, and light the other sternos with my finger, and then put it out before I got
Yep.
burnt. And the kids would be like, "Oh," I'd be like, "Don't do that at all." So I kind of understand where he's coming from.
Yeah. We used to write it out with our fingers, like lettering, and then you light it on fire, and you
Yeah.
Yeah, again, don't do this at home.
don't do this at all.
Now, we always ask our guests, do you have anything from your memory that would fit one of these stories? Any crazy pranks or...
Oh my God.
I know you're full of them.
Yeah, I mean,
I know you're full of them.
there's I mean, there was that before keypads, right? We broke into the chief's office and we, photocopied multiple body parts and faxed them throughout the other fax machines in the thing. And the only reason anyone outside the department found out is because we accidentally faxed it to the Miller Place secretary. So but
oops, hit the wrong button.
This was before cameras and all that stuff. They couldn't figure out how we got into the building. We had laddered the side of the building because the window was open, and we got in that way. A couple of things that we did accidentally filled up somebody's convertible with water because we didn't know how far the stream was going in the park. I knew. Yeah, there's been. Never suspended.
Yeah, yep.
So my suspended, not suspended, it may be a little skewed if you ask me more of those.
Right. It's so funny.
At least it wasn't using a deck gun to get a cat out of a tree.
Yeah, that's...
That came out this morning.
That shit I hate.
Upstate New York Department.
The cat in the tree or the easy way to get the cat out of the tree?
Yeah, they used the deck gun.
No, but what part does he hate?
I have a soft spot for animals.
Okay.
So anything with animals, I hate. I've been to fires where there was multiple dogs one time that were trapped, and they all wound up dying. Hated that. We were at a fire one time, and I think it was a vacant. And there was a raccoon in there, and these guys on the hose line just opened up on the raccoon.
Oh,
I was like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
No, you should not do that stuff.
It's terrible. You don't do it.
Regardless whether you like animals or not. I mean, I would never in a million years think to do that.
No, and that's...
And I've been up in the ladder truck, trying to get a cat on Memorial Day. I got it all ripped apart trying to grab this cat. And it is dangerous. I mean, people say all the time, you ever see a skeleton of a cat in a tree?
Nope.
You never do,
Nope.
or a person, they eventually going to come down or fall. So, is it really necessary? But, from the video, it looks like they're holding a sheet trying to catch it, and they're using a deck gun. I mean, I at first I saw it, I was like, oh, that's why I sent it to you. Right
I read
away.
the article. They had to put the fucking thing down.
Yeah, the next day. Yeah.
Because it got hit by the deck gun, or just...
because it fell out of the tree.
No shit.
Yeah, they had to euthanize the cat. Terrible. So don't do that.
Yeah.
It's not worth it, and a public image just looks terrible. So
Yeah. On to job of the week. Because now I'm pissed.
there were a bunch of jobs. There was big job this morning.
Don't hold it in. You got to let it go.
There was a big job this morning in West Sayville with the fatality. It looked like they tried to get in there as best they could, but
Yeah, I think...
it looked like
upon
from the
arrival?
pictures. I mean, the fire was everywhere. It
Yeah.
was basically, and I hate to say, it's fully involved kind of thing,
Yeah.
but that was from the pictures fully involved.
Well, the other one, we had a couple people submitted Green Lawn Fire Department
Yes.
out of work and fire, fully involved, private dwelling on arrival. They went right to the deck gun to knock it. Another one from upstate, Moyers Corners, New York. They had a basement fire with a Mayday. And then another one upstate, Herkimer County, New
Herkimer's
York,
out there,
had a
yeah.
motel job started in a storage area. And it
Moyers
was-
Corners is one of those, they have bunkins or live-ins there.
Oh, okay.
So if you're a college student, you can live there.
Oh,
In a
gotcha.
firehouse kind of thing.
Gotcha.
They're one of those departments.
Lou, let me ask you, what from the perspective of a decision maker, you pull up on scene and you get that fully involved house, but you also get reports that there were people inside. What is your thought process? Because that has to be an absolutely heart-ripping decision where you have to kind of make that determination. That person's gone. Do we push for that? Do we try to do a search? Do I put my guys in danger?
I'm going to push. It depends. I mean, obviously, it's going to be very dependent on the situation, what you see. And, if we can try to do a 360, see if there's any way to get in or out that building, because even though the front may look like it's fully involved, there may be areas that are not involved. And, I hate when we talk about this profiling, whether you like it or not, survivability profiles and everything else. But, I've been to many of fires where a door was closed and it's crystal
fine
clear inside. And meanwhile, the hallway's ripped apart, the bedroom ceiling's down, the whole 9 yards, and then you open a door and it's clean as day.
Yeah.
So, I hate to say that it could, I hate to look at a building and just say they're dead.
Yeah.
I hate to, I'm going to make a push. I'm going to do whatever I can. 100%. You know,
I always
unless the building's falling down, then that's a different story.
I
But
always think that because there's been so many times you open a closet and the closet's
Yep,
fine,
crystal clear.
right? Like that kid could be in the closet, that person could have been hiding in the closet.
well,
and then-
think of how many times, you know, and I know we're a volley podcast, but look at New York City for example. How many times guys have gotten past the fire and held somebody shelter in place in a bedroom or a back room while the line was getting in place to put the fire out. And it happens a lot. Or we get them out the window, or they wait.
This job in West Sayville this morning, they pulled up and
Well, I
they,
think the
they
chief
said-
got there first.
Yeah, the chief got there, and it was when they pulled up, you know, fully involved. But the chief went in to make a push because there was a reported occupant within. Chief went in, and I believe from what I saw in the groups or whatever, that, you know, when he was in, it flashed on him.
Yeah, it said something about a flashover. It said something about them getting the line in there and knocking down a lot of the fire. You know, so they made a push. They did whatever they could. It's a tough situation, but you know, you got to realize you have to try. That's why we're here. And you know, you can put out a considerable amount of fire even with an 1 3/4 line. I show videos all the time and say, you know, would you use 2.5
lot of
or
fire with
inch,
a can.
in an 1 3/4? You know, Setauket last week had a couch fire. Electrical outlet shorted out. The couch went on fire. The paid guys were on. And luckily, they were close by. They were getting breakfast. So they were on scene in 2 minutes. They got in there. Somebody called for a can. They knocked it down really good and stretched the line. But no working fire because they got there so fast. You know, they knocked it down. But anywhere else, that thing would have been ripping. So, you know, you got to try. We got to try and do our best due diligence to try to get people out.
For sure. Drill of the week. So we do this every week, but we had Bobby here last time. I know this episode is like Haz Mat Guys Part 2.
Okay.
So we had asked Bobby what is a good, like, little hazmat drill that any department could do, and he gave us the coffee bean.
Oh yes, he loves the
drill.
coffee bean one.
Yeah.
which is really crazy. If you
Yeah.
drop
It is
that,
crazy.
If you
I
drop
didn't
it
know
in.
that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
So we
interesting.
put that clip of him talking about it, we put that up, and that clip went nuts.
Went viral.
And we had people were messaging us saying, "Hey, we just tried it. Like, it actually works." They sent
yeah.
us pictures of the gas meter and the
hundreds of parts per million.
yeah, like it was
hundreds inside your
something crazy.
So that's what's killing you in the morning when you take
yeah, right.
a cup of coffee.
Yeah,
you go,
that's
"Ooh."
yeah.
You know, that wake up. What was it? Folgers, right? Or whatever it was.
Best part of waking up.
Best part of waking
CO
up.
in your cup.
Ah, right. CO in your cup. We should make that line. That should be on a shirt. There's another one,
Another
right?
shirt.
We always say there's a
every,
line.
every time the hazmat guys are
Right.
on, there's
There's
new
always
shirt
a line.
ideas.
It's always a line.
La-
The best
last
part of
one-
waking up is CO in your cup.
Last one we Bobby said he was talking about
No,
the-
no comma.
no comma, no drama.
No
So
drama.
if on your meter, if there's no comma,
There's no drama.
There's no drama.
He said
We
that
put
to a
those-
chief once, and the chief went, "What? It's 900 parts per million."
That's well, so you're looking for a drill, something that you could do hands-on or tabletop.
Either or.
Either or.
We'll take anything.
I think a good tabletop that everybody needs to assess is a radiation sticker. You're responding to any kind of an accident. You come across a package with radiation in it. And I know among the fire service, radiation is a really weak topic to begin with. And I think going through that motions of, okay, you just arrived on scene, you got somebody trapped, there's a box next to them that's got a completely legal radioactive placard sticker to it, or technically a label. What do you do? How do you walk through that? What's your thought process? Mainly because you should be having enough of an understanding of radiation to not fear it, to be able to make sure that the life safety operation is complete. I'm not saying take care of the radiation or anything like that, but I want all of my students to walk away being like, you know what, I can perform any life rescue mission that I have with any kind of radiation that is around me. And I think having that conversation is a good way to get people's brains going, because it's not something that happens a lot, but I can absolutely see people becoming a little paralyzed when they see something that they don't come across that much.
Right.
And radiation is definitely something that we don't come across.
I think
that
radiation is one of those that just scares people. And we know how to deal with it. And we know that the meters, if you're getting radiation hit, you have radiation. And if they're nothing, you don't have radiation.
Right.
So, I think it scares people, where our other meters, when we talk about this a little, is they have some sort of sensor drift, or you can pick up something else. You have cross sensitivity, where radiation's pretty much spot on.
It's there.
And, people just get freaked out. One run I had was a Troxel gauge in a trunk. EMS was walking by, their meters went off, it turned into chaos, and then you go down there and you're like, all right, we're trying to find the owner, go up, get the readings, get the trunk open, matches up. I'm like, all right, Chief, everything's all right. What do you mean everything's all right? We're getting radiation. I go, that's exactly how much radiation is supposed to be given off.
Right.
We're good here.
And that's my concern, right? Like me and you, we understand that because we're hazmat technicians. We teach hazmat all the time. We understand that. But your average firefighter, your average officer, even your average chief,
They don't know.
They don't know. So if you were gonna test your guys out, put a picture up, be like, you've got an extrication. The package next to your pinned victim has got this on it. What are you going to do?
And
For
part
people
of
that are listening, can you just explain what that placard would look like?
Well, part of it is, and you have to realize this. There's radiation that travels every single day.
Right.
There's radiation all around us. It's here. And it's in vehicles. It's in UPS, FedEx, and stuff like that. Small amounts, medical dosing and stuff dosage. So, people don't realize how much is really around you. And then when they have an incident, when they see a package that says radiation or they get a reading, they freak out. And it's like, well, it's here every day. You're probably next to it. It's probably in a room next door to us here. We don't even know, but it's here. And I just don't think, like you said, Mike, is that a lot of people don't have a general understanding. Now, can it be very bad? Yeah.
I mean, we do have Brookhaven National Labs right down the road from us, and they bring stuff in and out of the facility all the time. We don't even know about from a general public point of view that we don't even know about. And the possibility of it happening is not minuscule. And I'm not talking about like some big major event. I'm talking about the kid carrying the medical isotopes in his Toyota Corolla that gets T-boned
or
in an intersection. You come across this package, you're looking at it. What does it look like? It's generally a fully yellow label or a yellow and white label. It's got some writing down at the bottom of it. It very clearly says radiation, has the radioactive placard to it. It could have the DOT class.
Transportation index.
It has a TI indexing. There's words at the bottom. From a regular firefighter's point of view, none of those things really matter. Right? Those are all like technician stuff. Like, okay, is it leaking? Is it going to be hazardous? What I want my operations guys to really know and understand is that with very few exceptions, and we're talking like in the middle of a nuclear reactor type of levels of radiation, would it be unacceptable? Would it be unacceptable? Not unacceptable? Well, I don't know how to double negative that correctly. So if you had just a typical placard on a transportation index, on a transportation incident, whether it is a trucking company or the kid in the Toyota Corolla that gets sideswiped, that we cannot let that fear of radiation prevent us from going in and doing life rescue. Because when we look at radiation, we look at it from like an ALARA point of view, which is the term that we use when we like to be around radiation, which is as low as reasonably achievable. We accept the fact that we're going to be getting a dose, that we're going to be getting some kind of a I don't want to say radioactive, exposure, but it is a radioactive exposure. But the levels that we're going to get are going to be so slim as long as we make the process short and concise, minimize ourselves in there. May I ask you, what's the longest it's ever taken you to pull somebody out of a car?
Well, it took me 45 minutes once, so.
All right, so 45 minutes.
That's
right?
a long time, but
So
it's still a minute amount.
If you had a massively hot, which would be absolutely unheard of, you would have to talk about, in this instance, something being transported in what's known as a level B packaging, which has never opened up in a transportation incident. And we're talking trains, planes, automobiles, the whole 9 yards. You would have to have something transported in a level B package open up to even think about getting 100 rem
Right.
per hour of radiation
not gonna
dosing. Even at 45 minutes, you could operate and receive below what is required for you to never have to work again.
The dose.
So, and that is an insane example that we use in the class to help really get
And
everybody
chances
to
of
really
that are like,
understand.
I mean,
Right,
minute.
It's never
It's
even
not gonna
happened.
happen.
So I would never want to see somebody not do their job because of fear. And that's the biggest thing when it comes to a hazmat technician trying to teach operations guys how to respond to a hazmat incident where life is the major mission.
Right.
Because you arrive on scene as a regular firefighter, you're not thinking hazmat. You're not expected to think hazmat. You are expected to operate safely while rescuing the life and keeping that operational security intact.
Right.
So it's good to understand, the levels, where you're at. I mean, obviously, you're flying an airplane, you're going to get more. If you're around a lot more rock or granite, in the mountain, even New York City, you're going to get a lot more than you would here on Long Island. So it's the levels, like you said, you could do it in a tabletop. You can go over different types of scenarios, but even a Troxler gauge, I mean, as long as it's contained and it's not opened up, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
And even if it was opened up, you could still deal with it without a problem.
And I've even done this with volunteer fire departments. Hey, come do a drill with us. That radiation drill is one of my favorite go-tos because it's not something people grab a lot. It's absolutely something they're going to come across. It's not a technician level skill. You're talking about operations, and your operations are your normal firefighters, for lack of better words.
Right, right.
What we would lovingly call G-pop. So you want
General populations,
General
for those that don't know.
Yeah.
Special operations, general population.
so
SOC and G-pop.
Love it.
So you want, and it's true with any hazmat. Like even if you did a hazmat with an acid with it, right? You take any hazard and you show it to a firefighter and you say, "This is what you have," and you have a victim. What would you do? Right? That way, if they've ever have to come across it, because that's what drills are, right? Like we simulate what we could do in real life so that when that moment happens, our brain can flip back to an event to work off of. And it goes, "Oh, we've done this before. We know what to do. Go in and perform that rescue."
Right. So now, as far as a hands-on type drill, I know you said you had both.
Well, that would be both.
Oh,
Right?
for
So
both.
you
You
could
could
do both.
tabletop,
You
and
could
then
do
you
both.
could do the same thing and put it into a vehicle.
The
Okay, I got
problem
what
I
you're saying.
see with a lot of these volunteer departments is they don't have radiation meters. They just have a regular 5-gas meter. And those that do have radiation meters, sometimes they don't train on them enough, or they sit on the rig that the batteries are dead.
Right.
And, we've gone through this in time in different levels too. And, the Boston Marathon was one of those examples where they didn't really have a lot of meters, and the ones that they have, most of them didn't work. They didn't even know where to get them.
Right.
So you had an explosion, and they're like, "Get the radiation meters," and they're like, "Oh, we don't do that."
yeah.
So they've changed their operations. We all have over time, and as I always say in the fire service, we're very reactive. We wait until something happens, and then we say, "Oh, we got to fix that."
Yeah.
So that's a prime example. The other thing I'll say about radiation, but also placards and stuff like that is, don't just let your guard down and say that's it. Because people flip placards and they change them. The truckers on the road and different things. And I don't think I said this when Bobby was here, but I actually had an incident. I was working in 288. 288 and Hazmat responded, but it was a truck with radioactive placards, just the trailer, leaking some sort of green substance.
Oh, this was at the canal.
Yes.
Yes.
I was working.
I do know this one. Yep.
So we pulled up, and the chief's like, "This is what you got," and I'm like, "Whoa, okay, all right, get the radiation meters out," and we're talking city, but it could happen in the volleys too, and everybody's kind of standing back like, "Oh God, this is really bad," and John Berner pulled up, and he goes, I go, "Well, what do you want to do, John?" He goes, "All right." He goes, "Why don't you take 2 guys that way? I'll take 2 guys this way. We'll circle around the back and see if we get any readings," and we got no readings. Said radioactive all the way around his truck. So he looks at me, goes, "What do you think, Kev?" I say we open up the truck. Okay, we cut the tab, open up the back. It's all rotten fruits and vegetables. So we walk back to the chief's like, "What do you got?" We're like, "We'll walk over. We'll tell you face to face." We didn't even want to say it on the radio. So we walk over and we tell the chief. He's like, "What?" And then this guy comes over. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing with my truck?" And we're like, "It's your truck?" He goes, "Yeah, I run BJ's over here, and that's where we put all the rotten stuff. We get credit for it." And we're like, "Why has it got radioactive placards on it. He goes, we didn't want anybody fucking with it. So there's a prime example of they put radioactive placards to scare people. Meanwhile, it's just rotten fruits and vegetables.
And that's
And that can happen
legal.
all the time. And it's legal because it's
legal.
not transporting on the road. It's only required to have placards, DOT, when you're transporting. If it's
Interesting.
parked in a parking lot, it doesn't have to. So kids could walk up and flip the placards and change it. You see something and you're like, oh my God, it's the worst thing ever. And then it's not. And I'll just give you a quick drill too that I use a lot. And it's great for volleys too. And we took a water truck, looks like a gas truck, and we put a car into it. And we put a victim in the car and a victim in the truck, like just sitting there. And we had them respond in, and they're like, oh my God, it's got corrosive placards and this and that. And we had 2 placards on one side corrosive, and the other side had blanks. And they were all fearful to go in and rescue this person because there was fluid on the ground. And after it was all done, we went over, he said, it's the car into the diesel tank. It's just a diesel spill. It's not. First off, it's a chemical placard in a truck that wouldn't have chemicals. That's number one. Because if you look at your types of vehicles.
Yeah.
And number 2, it's just a traffic accident. It's not the actual cargo.
Right.
So, it throws people off when they see placards or they see dangerous stuff and they go, oh, I can't go in there.
Right. But we still have a job to do.
We still have a job to do.
Right.
And that's rescue people.
Yeah, and that's, I think, and that's where I like to take operations guys and push them to put them in that situation where they remember what their primary role is as a firefighter when you arrive on scene to a hazmat run. Because with that, you also then pair, all right, well, how do I do this properly? Right? Like, I know that I have to go in and perform a rescue. It would be, you have to, even in a hazmat scene. And people will go, oh yeah, but I'm not in PPE, I'm not properly trained, I'm gonna get hurt. I'm like, okay, so let's put this into perspective a little bit. Would you, and if you answer this wrong, you shouldn't be doing this job. So no pressure. Would you risk going to the burn center to go on the floor above a fire to grab somebody without the protection of a hose line? The answers should be yes. If
Absolutely.
not, switch podcast. This isn't for you. But if the answer is yes, then why wouldn't you be willing to take a burn, take an injury to go rescue a life of somebody who's not on the floor above a fire? And when you kind of put it into perspective like that, they're like, okay, that makes sense, right? So then the question becomes, do I go on the floor above without any kind of training? No, of course not, right? You got to know what you're doing. And part of knowing what you're doing, responding to a hazmat run as an operations is, how do I get that person out? How do I minimize contact with the material, whether it's hazardous or not, I don't know. How do I minimize the contact with the material? And then how do I get the victim clean and me clean as quickly as possible? If you can keep those 3 things in mind as you run through any hazmat event, you are going to lessen your probability of being severely injured while doing your job.
Gotcha.
And another thing on that too, and I mentioned gear quite a bit here and there, but gear is important. But you should read the label inside your gear, and it tells you have limited protection. It's not going to protect you from all fires, hazards, burns, everything else. It tells you that. It's a structural firefighting set of gear that we give you that may or may not protect you.
Right.
And actually, if you look in the Emergency Response Guidebook, that orange book, if you look, it tells you that you can wear structural firefighting gear for limited protection and everything else. So the same gear that we give limited protection in a fire, and it does give you limited protection.
Anyone
It gives
ever been
you-
burnt knows it's limited.
You can, and I've been there, so I understand. But on the other side of that, you can get limited protection from chemicals, toxics, and everything else by wearing your gear properly. And that means hooded up, face piece on, gloves on, the whole 9 yards. You will have a lot more protection than that civilian sitting there
Absolutely.
being
Right,
exposed to
100%.
anything.
It's a physical protection, right?
Correct.
It's not a chemical protection. There's a big difference.
Big difference.
When we walk in with chemical protection. Our gear, I could go swimming in the product. Don't go swimming in the product. I could go swimming in the product, and that gear is going to protect me. Bunker gear provides a literal physical distance from the chemical to your skin. And understanding that as soon as you get contaminated in your bunker gear, you have started a clock. and that chemical is going to migrate its way down to the skin, and you have limited time. So the quicker you can perform that rescue, get out and properly doff your bunker gear, you lessen the probability of that chemical coming in contact with you and creating kind of hazards. And part of that is knowing how to take your bunker gear off properly so that you don't cross-contaminate yourself, so that you're not getting sprayed down with a hose line before taking your gear off and driving the contaminants closer to your skin, which I see plenty of videos. Listen, I love the fact that I have a cancer history, right? So I absolutely love the idea of making sure that the gear is clean and all that stuff. But I see plenty of videos of post-decon after fires, and people are hosing themselves off while still wearing the gear. And it drives me nuts because they're not understanding the function of the gear and how it works properly, right? Your gear should be lightly misted to make sure that the contaminants stick to you while you're taking it off. They're not friable. And then you remove the gear. But if you're soaking yourself down after a job, whether it's hazmat or a regular structure fire, all you're doing is pushing that shit closer to your skin.
You're gonna get you do get wet inside your gear, and it's the same idea. And we even talked about this with going deeper into hazmat, of going to dry decons and stuff like that. But the military has done a lot of tests of wearing structural firefighting gear into hazardous environments and hazardous chemicals. So the studies are there, and yes, we're pushing this whole cancer thing, but we truly believe that sometimes it's not good. You're better off removing your outer layers of clothing, which takes away about 80% of your contaminants right away. And that's even your civilian clothes. If you take your clothes off, you're taking away basically 80% of your problem.
Right.
And now you're just worried about that little 20% to clean yourself up, maybe showering or whatever else. So.
If you're wearing clothes under your bunker gear.
If you were.
Well, listen.
Well, that's a whole nother story.
It's a volley thing, right? I responded multiple times at night in nothing but a set of boxers.
Yep.
Like, I didn't even have shoes on. I would just jump right in. I'd be practically naked under that bunker gear.
Oh, my God. So you said before you get voluntold to go from the engine company into hazmat.
Yeah.
Did you have some sort of background that they were like?
Yeah. So
they realized he was a nerd right away, and they said,
very,
you're
very
going
quickly.
to hazmat.
So my lovely mentor, who I thank every day for steering me in the right direction. I get a phone call from Tony Tricarico one day, and he's on the slopes at some ski resort, and he's with a boss from Haz Mat 1. And he's like, hey, Mike, he's like, I was sitting on the ski lift, and I started talking about you. Yes, I have. I went to University of Stony Brook for chemistry and physics, and then after 9/11, I was going for physics. And after 9/11, I realized I'm going to get called a lot sooner than I thought I was. I need to switch gears to be able to graduate as quick as possible, because I had to deal with my father anyway. I had to make him happy. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
So I switched to then neurophysiology. So I technically have a background in chemistry, physics, and biochemistry. So when
nerd.
So
I'm sorry,
but I'm also a complete jackass. So it allows me to teach at a level I can understand at a high level, and then teach at a firefighter level, which is where my success in teaching comes from. But yeah, he was on the ski slopes with this boss, and I had a 45-minute phone call. And he's at the top of the mountain, and he just asked, he goes, would you like to eventually come, or would you like to do a stint in Haz Mat 1, see what it's all about? And I was like, yeah, one day I'd like to do that, right? Like, thinking years in advance, one day I would like to do that. I go into the firehouse, my next set, and the captain's like, I've got a detail slip for you to go to Haz Mat 1. He goes, why didn't you tell me you were interviewing to go? I'm like, Cap, I didn't even know. Like,
it just happened.
It just happened.
It just happened.
And the captain was the captain. I knew him from the volleys. We were in Mount Sinai together. So I was very good friends with him, and I had no idea that they were going to.
That is the definition of voluntold.
That was the definition of voluntold.
That's so funny.
It's amazing how things work with the right people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Things just happen.
And now, I think I asked Bobby this when he was on too, but what was like the biggest brain scratcher of a job that you responded to?
The biggest brain scratcher. Okay, so for me, the biggest brain scratcher was a supermarket in the Bronx. As a hazmat, you're talking?
Yeah.
Supermarket in the Bronx, and they were getting LEL readings. They were getting about 37% LEL. inside the basement of the supermarket in the Bronx. So you're arriving, you're hearing these things, and you're like, ugh, another gas leak, right? You're kind of rolling your eyes. You're like, all right, no big deal. We'll just find the gas leak. Some really weird things happened on this run that was kind of like something's not right. One, everywhere we would go in the basement was 37%. That's really unusual when you have a gas leak. Usually it diffuses, so you have areas of higher concentration, areas of lower concentration. So that didn't make any sense whatsoever. We did find a leak, and the leak was clearly pushing out 37% LEL, which is also really, really strange, because if you're 100% natural gas inside a pipe and you have a leak, you would expect 100% of the LEL coming out. You would expect 100% of the atmosphere, so you'd actually be over the LEL. I should, in theory, have fried my meters at that point, but my meters weren't fried. They were holding steady at 37%. Also, when we traced back the pipes and things like that, it turned out it was a leak in the coolant system. So this really, really not making sense, because we did basic research on the halogenated hydrocarbon, which is the technical term for the freons. Freon is like a brand name. So the coolant, and it was labeled non-flammable. So we're really kind of scratching our heads here, trying to figure out what the hell is going on. We've got flammable atmosphere. We got 37% of the LEL in the basement. We have a leak. We don't have natural gas leaking. We've already determined that, because we turned around and we grabbed what's known as a laser methane detector, and it only detects methane. So in the basement, there was no methane. You have natural gas, you've got mostly methane leaking in. So now we're really confused. Well, it took a little bit more research on the resource guy. I was entry, so I wasn't resource, to determine that freon was actually a mixture of 3 gases. So because that mixture was only contained enough gas to ever get to 37% of the lower explosive limit, it was legally not a flammable material.
Wow.
So it was labeled as non-flammable. And when we did the math, and when he discovered that this is a mixture of 3 chemicals, the one chemical is flammable, but when you get together, you get about a third. So 37 is about a third, give or take, the changes in the meter. It turned out to be basically a freon leak.
Wow.
That was never going to blow up. It would have never ignited, but there was enough flammable gas in there to reach 37% of the LEL. So that was one of the biggest head scratchers.
That's for
because
sure.
Because it just didn't make any sense whatsoever.
Wow.
Do you feel that you guys run in or have run into a bunch of those? Because it reminds me very much of the story that Bobby said to us about going into the coffee roaster and not knowing what the fuck was going on, why the why the carbon monoxide was so high.
Right.
I feel
We
like
do.
You get a lot of these things, and we talk about ruling things out, right? Process of elimination.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where we go with a lot of this stuff. And you guys see it more than I saw it, but sometimes we're the ones first on scene, and then we're letting you guys know what's going on.
We're scratching our head in the back of the rig.
There's been a couple. I've literally had the cell phone in my hand talking to the resource guy or the boss, and I'm like, you're not going to believe this, but, and they're like, okay, and they're like looking up everything they can. Then they get on saying, they're like, we got a few possibilities, and then it's like boom, 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 boom.
Yep. And then we use the meters to try to come up with hypotheses. We challenge those hypotheses.
A lot of math involved and
math
hypothesis.
Yeah.
Hypothesize. We hypothesize,
And huddling. We huddle up.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of huddle. A lot of a lot of stupid comment. A lot of people bringing up stupid thoughts, which is totally fine.
Yep.
Sometimes the stupid thought is the answer.
It's amazing. It is. It really is. But yeah, no, it's a lot of that. The technician thinks differently than an operations person.
For sure.
Operations, and not just the educational aspect. It's almost, you almost start to be taught to think like a boss as a firefighter, because operations firefighters, they live in an if then then world. when it comes to hazmat or almost any decision making, right? Take CO, for example. If I've at 35 parts per million, then I perform this action according to my general operating procedures. I evacuate, I open up, I turn off sources of incomplete combustion, all those things. So there's set rules that a firefighter is going to perform under certain circumstances. Hazmat technicians view the world, we don't have SOPs. We don't have the if, then statements. We have to take and learn about the product, learn about the container, apply the environment. And do behavioral prediction. Mm-hmm. And when we do all those things, we can then figure out what the best course of action is for the resources that we have, the mission that we have, what our goals are to accomplish. So for a hazmat technician, it's a completely different thought process to run through even just a CO run, right? Because a CO run, I may turn around and be like, 35 parts per million, we need to evacuate as a firefighter. And for me, I'm turning around going, well, actually,
not
the
so bad.
Threshold limit value for this is this, and these people are not being exposed to it 24 hours a day. They've only been exposed to it this, so maybe it's time to lock the joint up, turn everything back on, and let's see what happens next. So we have a little bit different of a thought process, and it kind of comes more in line with how officers and chiefs think when they have to try to figure out what's going on. So it's this kind of weird in-between world that a firefighter who's a hazmat technician lives in, between that the general operating procedures of a firefighter, but also thinking like a boss.
Very interesting.
And you have to be careful because, firefighters respond to these runs, the regular operations level or regular firefighter daily. Like we get ourselves into probably a lot of situations we shouldn't, or getting ourselves exposed to things that we're not really thinking about.
Right.
And, it's until we start getting, you get there and you have a couple of victims that are people that are sick, or a firefighter goes down or starts getting sick, and then you go, oh, this is a little more than our scope.
Right.
So I personally think we should train more on, and I say this a lot, metering. Metering I think is one of the biggest things, but also, how to evaluate and figure out when we go to these odors or these toxic substances or whatever. I always see it very interesting in not just my department, but anywhere. When there is an actual hazmat run, they all come running out with the orange book.
Yes.
Like holy cow, I gotta use this thing. Like, where is it in the glove box? And it's tucked away under 16 things. But now they're all standing there outside with the books, and it's like
going, why are there yellow pages? What's the blue
right?
pages? What
And
is the orange
you're
page?
trying to sort it out. Like you got to be squared away beforehand. And if you're responding in as a second or third or fourth, they're telling you it's a hazmat run or they have some information. You should have the book open as the officer and reading it. And, one of my things in the squad, I used to do this a lot, was I would open that book right away, as soon as I went on a hazmat run. Mm-hmm. And they're like, what are you using that book? That's for the first responders. I go, because I want to see what they're doing before I get there.
Right.
So, if they gave me a chemical or a UN number, I'd look that all up and I'd say, okay, they should be doing this. This is what their evacuation distances are. This is what they should have a line stretch. And I have that all in my head before I get there.
Right.
And now we go into stage 2.
Right.
Because sometimes I'll come up and I go, Chief, I don't know, wait, just back everybody up.
Because quite often the scene wasn't secured properly.
Correct.
So we have to first make sure
you got to fix that and then
that's
go into stage 2.
Right. So now, being all this hazmat stuff that you're involved with, how'd you get involved with the Hazmat Guys?
Okay.
How did that whole thing
So I don't want to
start?
repeat what Bobby has said, but I don't think he tells this story
Correctly?
Not that it's correctly. He's like, his thing is just like, yeah, we just like started it one day. And we really didn't. So Bobby was in the company, Squad 288, which was a special operations company. Squads are absolutely phenomenal. I have some people are like, I go from a squad to a rescue, and I'm like, no, man. Squad is the place. Squads do everything. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So he's got plenty of hazmat experience to begin with. He comes across the floor. Bobby's Bobby. He's got the type of personality that if he's going to do something, he's going to master it.
Yep.
And he's going to master it in like 3.5 hours. So he comes over, he's doing the studying, and he doesn't talk about it, but he's got a background in science as well. But he goes, do you know of any hazmat podcasts? Now, I never listened to a podcast in my life. Like, I'm the least tech savvy person I know. And I'm like, no, man, sorry. Like, I don't know. He's like, I'm just trying to, listen, learn more. I'm like, good luck. Like, if I hear anything, I'll let you know. About 3 weeks later, he comes to me. He goes, I can't find a Haz Mat podcast. And I'm like, yeah, that sucks. Like, I don't know what to tell you, right? Like,
I can't help you.
yeah, I can't help you. So he goes, you want to start a Haz Mat podcast? And I'm like, who the fuck is going to listen to somebody talk about Haz Mat?
Nobody wants to even go to refresher
like,
classes.
Isn't that like, am I putting people in danger? Like, I'm going to put them to sleep while they're driving. Like, I can't. He goes, no. He goes, let's give it a shot. I'm like, well, what do we need? And he goes, honestly, I think we just need like a microphone and video if we want to do video. So we started playing around with our laptops and just trying to figure it all out. And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't understand what are we going to even talk about? And he goes, all right, let's put down 10 ideas on a piece of paper and we'll just start there. And when we run out of things to talk about, we'll just stop talking. And I was like, all right, that definitely works. So 10 years later, we're still doing a podcast every week. And we have yet to really run out of things to talk about.
It's so interesting. I mean, we've talked about your podcast on this podcast a bunch of times because, and this will kind of bring me into my next question, but I remember we had to go do our hazmat refresher at my firehouse, and everyone hates a hazmat refresher because it is what it is. And I remember going up
dry.
But I remember going upstairs and I see it set up, and I'm looking for the guy in the white shirt, the chief, like the county, blah blah. And then I'm looking, I'm like. Who's
that fat guy?
No, I was like this guy. Like this guy looks like this guy that looks like Dave Grohl is coming in here.
Jesus.
And he's gonna teach a hazmat course, and I'm like, all right, whatever. And I'll never forget. It was actually one of the guys in my company. You said your name, and he's like, oh, Monaco. He's like, do you know Tony? And you just immediately turn around and you're like, do I know a Tony? You're like my last name is Monaco.
I think I know a few.
And I was like, all right, we're in for a ride with this guy.
Yeah.
And
I believe I started that one off by I've never seen so many ugly people in one spot. I believe
I think
that's
you
how,
did.
Yeah.
And it caught everyone because everyone just, all right, we going through the motions, get the hazmat done. But I don't think I've ever seen that room engaged the way you had it. And it was awesome to watch. And it was like even still today, there's things in my head just from that one class that I'm like, I remember because it was hilarious the way you taught the class. And just you came in like heavy-handed, like no one's going to mess up your presentation or whatnot. So I'm curious to know, and this goes for Bobby, and I'm sure all the other instructors that you guys have under the Haz Mat Guys, but how did you develop that style of training and speaking with people?
He was bullied as a child.
Yeah.
And
no, it
is a knack.
It's a knack. It's a knack, right? Yeah. Obviously, there's been plenty of people that we've taught with that you would want to hang yourself, and we have been in front of the same audience.
Been there.
It's really. I try to. How does it start? What was the question again?
So, how did you develop your style
the
of training?
personality, the style? Okay.
So, one, I had to create a whole new persona because the reality is that this is not me, right? The reality is I'm an extraordinarily introverted person who hates people, and I have to pretend to be a non-introverted person, like an extrovert on stage. I don't consider myself to be funny as like a normal human being, but I had to develop that, and I had to see myself not as an instructor, but as an entertainer. Because where we come from, like you said, it sucks, right? I'd rather pluck out ball hairs than sit through your typical 8-hour hazmat refresher for operations level.
Right.
So you have to see yourself as an entertainer first. So I had to develop that entertainment side. Now, I happen to have also did a little bit of, studies in theater and improv and stuff like that. So I was able to pull from that to create the persona that you saw when you come up on stage, because it's an act. So once you develop the act and you have the character down, I already understood the information, and now it was a matter of meshing those two things together to create an entertaining yet educational piece, understanding, human psychology, understanding how to manipulate the question, right, the person, so I can get the answer that I want, so that I can then make fun of that person for having that answer, because that is engaging.
You got to engage them.
You got to engage them in the class. So you quickly start to learn, and studies show this, that if you can people will learn more if the information is sandwiched between laughter and insult. So if I teach you something and I make you laugh, you're going to remember that. If I teach you something and I insult you, you're going to remember that. So I've got two roads to go down with all the information, and I just try to go back and forth with humor and insult and combine them together.
Well, that's what's so interesting, because I remember it got to a point where you were asking questions, and any type of class or whatever you go to, instructor asks a question, no one raises their fucking hand because nobody wants to deal with it, or they don't want to be that guy that gets it wrong. But I think maybe you started just calling on people.
Yes.
But you were riffing with them. And then the next time you asked a question, more hands went up, because these people are like, all right, like, this guy's funny to riff with, so if I say something stupid or blah, 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 like, it's going to be funny for everybody.
And there were other guys we taught with that we learned from too.
Absolutely.
That, and going way back, I mean, Timmy Regan, when he was in Haz Mat, and he was like the master. He was one of the first people that I ever saw. I went through my hazmat, and I saw him once or twice, but he was funny. And then I remember going to a refresher, and we're like, man, when are we getting this thing going? And all of a sudden, the door would slam open and close, and he comes in a doctor's outfit and a hat. He's got buck teeth, and he comes in, and it says Dr. Death or Dr. Dick or something that. And he walks in, and everybody's like, he goes, well, guys, about to get started here, this and that. He goes, so how many people brushed their teeth this morning? Like that. And I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? And I'm like, so he's like, come on, you can answer your question. You all brush your teeth, right? Or one of you guys, I smell something, and he just started going on this tear. And I'm like, all right, this is interesting way to start a hazmat class.
Wonder how this is going to end up.
Right. And I'm like, where's he going with this, right? And then he's like, how many people have their toothbrush close to the toilet in their bathroom? And you all do. You could raise your hands, because everybody's half asleep, He's like, so basically what you did is you took shit and you put it on your teeth and you brushed it. And everybody's just sitting there like, what? And he's like, well, it absorbs your shit smell, gets absorbed into your toothbrush, and then you put toothpaste on it and you put it in your mouth. So you might as well just lick the toilet, or just take your toilet brush and put it right in the toilet. And I'm just like this. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell just happened this morning?
And from that moment on, I never used the sink again.
Right. I mean, so it's people like that. And then you had other people that were so dry or were talking way over your head and you didn't understand what they were talking about. So it was engaging that part. And there were other guys that, Mark Hamilton was another guy. He's just a funny guy. And I taught with Mark a lot, and he'd be like, all right, what's the answer to that? And the guy's like, absolutely not. No, next. And he would just learn. And that's how we started learning to engage. And then these guys took it to a whole nother level with Bobby and Mike here. But, it's getting people involved. Like we were just talking about before, people get so drawn out, I got to go to this stupid class once a year. It's not fun. It's just boring. And then we started adding in the funny videos, and all of a sudden,
when you could do the funny videos,
when you could do some of it. I mean, some of them were, today you can't do some of those videos that we used to show, but you would pull these little clips off and show these videos just to get everybody engaged, and then they go right back to the dry material again. But you guys have mastered a way to really draw people in. And even your clips and stuff, and what is it, Jake?
Jake,
the other
yeah.
guy.
Yep.
Yeah, he's great.
Love it, and I was asking Bobby, I'm like, where'd you find this guy? Like,
Yeah,
he's funny too.
He runs
But-
the Hazard Class podcast, which is
it's
absolutely
insane.
spectacular.
And I don't watch all of it, but when the clips come up and you're like, wow, that does make me interested, So I'm glad you guys have been able to mold this and turn it into something that maybe people will actually pay attention to and
We
learn.
hope so, because I mean, like, you have to go through one hazmat refresher a year, right?
Yep.
I go through about 100 hazmat refreshers a year.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have to be entertained as well. Like,
Yep.
if it sucks for me, why do I want to do it? And the first person that I make fun of in the class is always me, because
Right.
it sets the tone for the
For
class.
everything else.
Right.
And I teach out in California, and if you want to talk about stuck up like snowflakes, like California,
The left coast,
the
as I call it, left coast.
very left,
Yes,
far left coast. And I've had all sorts in the class, and nobody ever walks away actually being offended, because the first thing I do is set the tone for the class, and I make fun of myself.
Right.
And the moment you do that, everybody's guards drop, and now they want to become part of the joke as well.
Yeah, and that's, and we talk about this a lot, like when we talk about drill of the week and stuff. I mean, I did with the training committee in my department. It was me and another captain were tasked with SCBA refresher, just like the maneuvers and stuff like that for the entire department. And we're like, well, we're not just going to sit there and be like, all right, you got to do this, you got to do that. We made a whole fucking thing out of it. So the first thing we did, we set up 3 different stations. First station was SCBA Flip Cup. So Flip Cup, the drinking game, but you started with your pack on the floor, and there was like a team of 6 guys on each side, and the bottle will be out. You throw your bottle in, get it up, throw your pack on, mask up. Once you're on air, tag the guy next to you, he goes. So that was one thing. The other thing we did was a relay race. So guy would start with a baton, and he would do a reduced profile. Once he gets through that, tags the next guy, he goes, does a low profile. Tags the next guy, he goes, does the quick escape. Then we incorporated EMS into it, and we did a Jeopardy with EMS. So we'd ask the fire guys EMS-related questions, but we had it where...
Talk about a bunch of blank stares.
Yeah, so we made the questions really easy, and then like the top ones were like really hard. But
The
we had
C
it
in CPR.
yeah, right. So what we did was with the EMS side of it, we had where the one firefighter would have to take a piece of gear off if they got the question wrong, and then at the end they would have to do a 2-minute drill. So they have to get their gear. So, whoever answered the most questions correctly,
Right.
well, the guy might just have to put his helmet on and put the pack on. But we got a lot of great feedback from it. Like the Chiefs were happy with it because it was such an off drill from what we were doing. But we were like, we got to make this
still
fun.
drilling.
Yeah, we got to make the
Yeah.
guys, and they were doing what they were supposed to be doing, but we made it fun. And to your point, what you guys were just talking about with having an engaging class and whatnot, I feel that departments everywhere volunteer. I mean, we get submissions all the time, people reaching out to us. They might not have the budget for it or anything like that, but I truly feel that these people should have you guys coming and teaching their hazmat. And my next question with this is the grants. We spoke
Sure.
to Bobby about the grants that are out there for these departments to afford a training like the Haz Mat Guys to come in.
Yeah, the grants becomes a really difficult world, especially I think for the volunteers. One, especially so if we look at like Nassau and Suffolk County, right? Most of your training is given to you by the state, right? So you
State
go to
or counties,
Yep.
yep.
You go to the state county class. You got phenomenal instructors like Lou, and you go in and you do your thing. And there's no thought process on budget of bringing in outside people, because there's no reason. Like, my training's taken care of. Like, why do I have to do that? So when it comes to places like that, the grants become really difficult because they're a huge pain in the dick. Right, like
They're hard to write,
they're
hard to get.
Yeah,
Yep.
You
And if
have
you
to-
have money or you have a decent budget, they look at you and say, no, they're good.
Yeah, so that is difficult for an operations level. Grants become extraordinarily difficult. Now you step up to the tech level, like out here on Long Island. What do we have? Hicksville and Islip are the two big teams on the island, and the Haz Mat's covered by the marshals. If I'm not
Town of
mistaken.
Brookhaven fire marshals
Right.
do theirs. It's
Yeah, Town
Smithtown,
Smithtown.
Nassau County has some. So it's mixed up, but they're paid.
Yeah, so we got a couple of teams here on the island, and they would benefit for grants when it comes to training and equipment, whereas a lot of the other budgets. So it's not worth it for a lot of. Well, it seems not worth it for a lot of volunteer departments to go for the grant because they got to hire a grant writer. The grants don't pay for a grant writer. You're not guaranteed to get the grant. You're not guaranteed to get what you're looking for. So it can be a really, really, really difficult road to navigate. When it comes to technicians, if you are a team, if you're a department that operates a hazmat team, we try to provide as much help as possible. We have in-house grant writers that can try to help you walk through the grants because you have to submit the grant yourself. I can't submit a grant for you. You have to submit your own grant.
Right.
But we can absolutely help. We can help with the wording. We can help with the what is it that you're looking for when at the level that you have technicians. If you're not looking for technicians, then it becomes very difficult to get that kind of level of training to come in without a shadow of a doubt. We try to make up for that by having an online LMS where people can obtain the similar flavor of us without us having to travel and be there and do the classes. So, we try to get around the money situation. We understand that everybody's hurting. Everybody, you blow your entire training budget on a couple days of us coming to do an operations class. People are like, yeah, no, which is totally understandable.
Right.
The grant world is a hard world for volunteers.
Yeah, and I know, Bobby, you mentioned the people just being able to go to their local fire marshal, state fire marshal for certain funds.
Right.
As well.
You actually want to be looking for your LAPC, which is your local planning board.
Right.
Right. They're quite often, not always, but they're quite often the ones that have the most direct access to the state grants that are given by the federal government. So the federal government cuts up grant money and throws it to the states, and then the states kind of figure out, all right, how are we going to disseminate that?
Yeah.
And more often than not, they do it through that local planning commission. And the local planning commission can apply for the grants in your name, or they can give you money, or they're kind of the go-to for the area. Not every area is the same. Some places, their local planning commissions, they exist on paper only.
Right.
So it becomes very difficult. You have to be involved in your community, and I don't mean like your department, like I literally mean your community, to be able to kind of figure out where the money goes, who has access to it, who's pulling the purse strings, and then it becomes, I'm going to show up to this office with my knee pads. So it becomes, work.
And
Right,
sometimes you can even go to local businesses. If you have a business that has chemicals and stuff like that, they usually have money set aside for training either their own employees, but they could also help train the local fire department. So
Right.
Even with tech rescue, sometimes you see that where they can help you with equipment or training. So, it doesn't hurt if you have a big, elaborate industrial complex in your district,
Absolutely.
is to contact whoever's in charge up there and say, hey, listen, we're looking for some training. God forbid we come here to try to save your building. We don't want to be just standing outside saying we're not going to do it because we don't know anything. We need
Right.
some training.
And
So
don't think they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart, right? Every industry is
They have
run
to.
by money. They have to.
they have to.
Right,
You know,
right.
their guidelines with EPA training tells them they have to, if they have certain quantity of certain chemicals, you have to have a yearly community drill
Correct.
with this. And that's where understanding your local LAPC really starts to come in, because they're the ones that do a lot of the tier 2 reporting, which are going to be the, hey, that's a big thing. A big quantity, you need to let us know about it.
Right.
So there's plenty of information out there for people to try to get funds. It's just a matter of where you're going to get it from, who are you getting it from, what grant are you going to go for, what are you eligible for, and do you have the time and energy to actually put in for the grants?
Right. And speaking of getting information and access to this fun type of stuff. I see you got some items coming out from the Haz Mat Guys.
Yeah, it is. This is definitely some fun stuff. We try to make everything entertaining and enjoyable, right? So as we kind of approach really boring shit and make it in a way that's palatable, not only palatable but stuff that you kind of want to do. We've kind of created a few things here. Nerds, we're nerds. You called me nerd multiple times, right? I take that with a loving compliment.
It was from love.
It is from love,
and you know that.
It is absolutely.
You know that.
You know, I would anytime we would teach with the rescue guys, I would always say, guys, this is your nerd safe space.
Right,
There's a nerd inside of you. Let it go. Let it go. Have that, nourish the nerd. And every once in a while, you get a smile or the typical rescue nod of like. Mm-hmm. You know, and I knew I got to them. I knew that was they were my people. But you know, things that you want to talk about, like drills and things like that. Now, this is more of a technician level stuff. But games like this allow you to do instant tabletops, where there's sections of these cards that are going to be, okay, what is my container? What is my product? What is my scenario? Let's go from there. So trying to gamify, like you said, you did the relay races with the
SCBA.
The SCBA. So how do we gamify this? How do we make this somewhat interesting? For those teams that are in the process of trying to put something together, we have a how to build a hazmat team, which is less our words and more of a compilation of interviews that we've done with what we lovingly call the dinosaurs of the hazmat community. Hazmat started in about 1984.
80s, yeah.
So these are words from the people that created the team, how to create the team, what things were important, what mistakes did you make, right? As firefighters, we are always examining our mistakes. If you ever go to a good shop after a job, they should be sitting down at the kitchen table and everybody should be talking about, hey man, what did I do? I'm not being like, somebody's not being like, hey Mike, you fucked up. I'm saying what I fucked up. Right. And I'm learning from my own mistakes. And it always started with the boss, right? The boss was like, I could have done this better. I could have done this better. They really set the tone to be able to open up. So when we had all these people, when they had our ear and they were talking, we really wanted to understand, like, what were your mistakes? What were some things that you could have done better? If you could go back and do it again, what would you do? The pluses, the minuses, and we kind of compilated that all into a book. For our operations level guys, are you compliant? So one of the hardest things for volunteer departments, paid departments to do is to stay within the compliance of the law, because the law sucks. When was the last time you read OSHA 1910-120? Right, I'd rather, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I've
read a lot of it, so
yeah, I know you have, right?
But
you're in a totally different
Yep.
kind of ball game, right?
But people don't look at it, and it is law. You know, like when we talk about NFPA and OSHA, right? So, you know, you're talking about Code of Federal Regulations and all of that stuff. It gets very deep. And if you're not following that law, I mean, you can basically be put in jail. Right. So, you know, that's why things like this are important.
And so a great example of this, and this was in industry. I got a phone call about 2 years ago now at this point, and this company wanted us to come in to do tech classes. And we said, okay, like, you know, where are you at? What are you doing? And they're like, well, you know, we took a few of our people and we showed them how to put on a suit, and they go and they take care of any kind of spills or anything like that. And I was like, okay, I'm like, you know, you are massively out of compliance. Like, you will be arrested and massively fined if something were to happen. And they're like, what are you talking about? We're like, and so I went through the whole OSHA 1910-120, awareness, operations, the whole 9 yards. They were completely unaware that they needed to have their people officially trained at the technician level before they could put on PPE. So, you know, nobody gets a class.
They didn't even know there was a law.
Right.
And that's what happens.
And the volunteers,
it's the same thing with NFPA. People say, well, what are you talking about? It's in the NFPA. It's written there. It's a standard. You don't have to follow it, but a lot of that's been turned into case law now. So you got to be very careful when people say, I don't know or I didn't know. If you're a chief officer or even a captain, you can't say, I didn't know. You better have an answer.
I was a lieutenant with Mount Sinai for a little while. You know how I got to be a lieutenant? I wasn't there for the election. And I got voted in. Like
That's
that
great.
was that quite literally I wasn't there for the vote, and I got put in as a second lieutenant. There was no class. There was no.
Right.
There was nothing that turned around and
Next
said,
thing you know, you're the boss.
yeah, then that leads to becoming a captain, and then that leads to becoming a chief within the volley world. And I'm not saying that those officers are not qualified. I think experience goes a lot further than a class.
For
Right?
sure.
I think an officer that has experience versus an officer that has a class. Personally, I'll take the experience over the guy who did well in his flips class or whatever
Right.
class you take
Well,
hands
look
down.
look at the senior man, right? I mean, a senior
Right.
man that's been around a while has seen a lot, has learned a lot over time. They may not have taken an official class, but they have learned in a different sense.
Right.
But they still have that knowledge.
Right.
Now, the brand new
senior
guy
man-
goes through a class, they throw a bunch of stuff at him, but he doesn't have that.
Even the
overtime
senior
experience.
man, you get every once in a while you get those bosses that have 20 years on as firefighters, and they take the test. With the volleys, you get the guy who's maybe been around the block a couple times, never had time because he had young kids. Now all of a sudden he's in his lower 50s, and he's like, hey, maybe I'll step up and try to help run the organization, which is the heart and soul of the volunteer fire department, right? Is that's what we look for. That's what it's all built upon. Nobody's teaching him the laws. Nobody's saying, hey, listen, OSHA says we have to do this. And yet the game that we play, which is firefighting and hazmat, the game is written, like the rules are there, but nobody introduces them.
Right.
How we operate at the scene of a job is very clearly defined in multiple standards. What we wear is defined in OSHA. How we operate, nobody explains
Incident
the rules
command,
of the games. Incident
right?
command,
Yeah.
all that stuff. And it's just not, it's not put out there because it's not looked at as something that is super important until you get a phone call. Oh my gosh, we're being audited by OSHA. We haven't done an OSHA class in the past 4 years. We're screwed. And all of a sudden you get a volunteer department who's getting fined upwards of $4 million because they've got 150, 200 members who are out of OSHA compliance.
Or worst case scenario, somebody gets killed in your department, and they come in and they
God
basically
forbid
turn the
something
place upside down. And you don't want to get to that level where people getting injured or killed, and then it's to the races. You don't want that to happen either.
Yeah. And then to boot, so we deal with the compliance part of everything as part of what we offer to departments with the compliance part of it. And then in trying to make things fun, we've got 2 books that we put out, and they're Nerd 1 and the Nerd 2. And the nerds are the National Emergency Response Hazmat Drills.
Love
So
that.
it's quite literally nerds. Totally have embraced that. Definitely a difference between a nerd and a geek. We're nerds, we're not geeks. All right, I don't no geek emails. And they're basically again taking a cue from the community, because the hazmat community is not a large community, and we don't see a lot, right? Like I know it seems like, oh, okay, you're an FDNY hazmat technician. I was a technician for 18 years. Man, you must have seen so much. Yeah, I saw a lot of what we did, but that doesn't mean I saw a lot of what the potential to respond to is. So if you hold that thought that, like, okay, in reality, my experience is super limited, and I need to get everybody else's experience to become more experienced, then you quickly realize in the hazmat community that you want information from all different teams. Because there's stuff in New York City we will never, ever see. Mm-hmm. I will never, ever, ever see a chlorine tanker run through New York City. Yet you go across to Jersey, and the guys at Jersey, they'll do like 2 or 3 a year. And there's stuff that I do that they'll never see.
Right.
So as a set of instructors that are out there, and we're all very tight-knit, the instructors, we learn off of each other, because we absolutely understand that even an experienced person has limited experience when you look at the national realm. So we took that and we put it towards drills. And we said, okay, community, let's put together hundreds of drills as a hazmat technician that somebody can just open a book and go, let's do this drill today. and it lays out all the different drills, and it's different things from across the country. So our Nerds 1 and Nerds 2 drill book is one of my more exciting projects that I worked on, because it provides that collaboration of knowledge that I just think is so incredibly important in the hazmat community.
Yeah, for sure.
Nerds 3 coming out soon.
Nerds 3 coming out soon.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And is there anything else you want to throw out there for people to know?
All right. Well, I mean, if
and
you're
also plug your stuff.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I'm throwing corporate nonsense around. Obviously, the podcast, right? So the Haz Mat Guys Podcast. We do LMS classes, continuing education credits can be obtained through Hazmat. Departments are more than willing to come in and have their entire department run through the LMS for the hazmat training. And just maybe we won't have people hanging themselves in hazmat class. That's kind of the goal, as few hangers as possible. We do, we're always doing the conference circuit. I say we, Bobby's always doing the conference circuit. He's out there, pounding the pavement.
You have your own coming up, your own conference.
Yes, we're doing.
So
if anybody who wants to
meet the nerds,
learn hazmat in the middle of February, in the middle of Key West, you are more than welcome to come down to the Southernmost Hazmat Conference, where we will be not just doing hazmat, but we have a whole operations track that we're doing as well, because we absolutely understand that there's a bunch of operations people who are just trying to get away. We recognize that early on, so we said, okay, if they're going to come down here, let's give them something that they can come home with. And one of the biggest things that I'm really excited about is a gentleman by the name of Timothy Ferretti, who's not a firefighter in any way, shape, or form. He's a salvage guy. And he's turned around, he's become an expert on CNG and LNG vehicles from the salvage point of view.
Interesting.
He's taken that knowledge and has created classes for the first responders to explain how this whole system works, what's the good, what's the bad, how do you operate around it, from the point of view of I'm actually going to be taking it apart, I'm going to be bleeding it, I'm going to be doing this. So he's going to be running his CNG, LNG course down there, and it is phenomenal course for regular operations level guys, because there is a lot to understand about operations around CNG and LNG vehicles. So we've got a lot of good stuff, whether you're a hazmat technician, whether you're running a JHAT team, which is a joint hazards analysis team, or you're just your regular average mill hazmat technician. There's going to be something for everyone down there.
I heard we're going to be using metering and monitoring and testing alcohol.
Yes.
I heard that's part of it.
Yep, we're going to be do colorimetric testing.
Yeah, little colors,
right?
yep.
Because
it's going to be some good stuff.
Yep.
Mixing, we're going to do solubility.
Got to do solubility.
Yep.
Solubility, density.
Miscibility,
right? So we can
right?
get different densities of alcohols.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So we're going to try some interesting things, I think.
Yeah, you're going
I'm
to
signing
go
up.
against
I'm
the
going.
hazmat grade and actually taste, taste or smell the
all right,
alcohol.
so I am one of
Sorry, I had to throw it out there.
I'm one of 3 firefighters in the world who don't like the taste of alcohol. So I will absolutely help everybody else get smashed, but for me, I'm just gonna have to drink my Coca-Cola. That's all.
Yes.
Except with the exception of that, and it is Key West, so it is completely acceptable for a grown man to be walking around with umbrella drinks. And I am a girl drink drunk. If you've ever seen that skit on Kids in the Hall, I am a girl drink drunk all the way. I will down things with umbrellas in them.
That's good stuff.
God.
That's good stuff.
Well, Mike, thanks
And
again.
we have a little joint venture that we're working on with the Haz Mat Guys.
Yes.
So we have some
excited for that.
exciting things coming up with the Valley House podcast and the Haz Mat Guys together. And
Are we able to talk about that?
well, we're just coming to fruition. So we'll
okay.
just
All
tell
right.
people
So
that it's going to be out
coming.
there soon. But you got a lot to be looking forward to in the future.
Putting a
and-
lot of information out there, try to help out the volunteer departments out there with Mike and Bobby and the rest of the crew.
I think we're gonna
Haz Mat
have
Guys
a
gonna be good
good
stuff.
thing.
Yeah.
For the future. So, but thank you, Mike. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me.
It's great.
This was a pleasure.
Absolutely. That wraps up 37.